Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for Big Game Bound. We're into week 15 of the NFL season. Let's check out what's coming up on the show with our playbook. Payton joins us from Chicago. Talk a little bit about that special award, the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. Our big matchups, Kansas City, New Orleans, Seattle, and Washington. We'll check in with our correspondents. Our big guest, Steve Kornacki, going to break down the playoff race. And the Wizard of Odds, Kenny White, joins us from Las Vegas. We'll start with the insights of Payton. He joins us every week from Chicago. And let's first hit on the Walter Payton Award that the nominees came out this week. What does that mean to your family?
You know what, Jack, it's an amazing honor to have in my dad's name and his legacy to be able to live on with the NFL and the players now, especially, all these guys getting a chance to show all the great things that they're doing, on the field, but also off the field as well. And so for my family, just to be able to have my dad's name on the league's highest honor, it just still doesn't feel real to all of us. And but I think it's my dad is smiling down right now, just super proud that all the work that he put into this game, not just on the field, but off the field. And now his legacy is being remembered every single year with the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. And
I know what it means to the players that have that patch on their uniforms that have won that. So I can't wait to see who wins this. A great person, whoever it is. All right, Jalen Hurts' performance in Philadelphia. He beats the Saints in his first NFL start and breathes some life into a lifeless team. What impressed you the most about Hurts?
Man, just by watching him throughout his college career, Jack, I just knew what kind of player he was. And, just to be able to have the ups and downs that he had, at Alabama and then go to Oklahoma and see just what he was able to do there. It's just a testament to the way that he plays the game and how he studies the game. I think when you look at that Eagles offense, though, it's really centered and made perfectly for how he plays the game. And especially you saw that just in the game plan against the Saints. It wasn't an easy task to go up against the league's best defense, especially at that time. And to be able to show that composure and to get outside the pocket, whether it was running or also in making the throws and stare down the barrel, man, he was all locked in. And I think that's what you love to see about, a quarterback, especially a young quarterback. But I knew when they made that selection, I knew that he was perfect for Philadelphia. And I knew there was a lot of stuff that was going on with Carson Wentz, but for right now, Jalen Hurts is the man for the job, and I look forward to seeing how he closes out the end of the season.
Do you think Carson Wentz has played his last game for the Eagles?
Man, Jack, I mean, it's like the I don't know how many millions he has in his bank account or how much he's being owed, but that's the question. I mean, right now, I think for the end of the season, you got to look at Hurts and kind of play this out and see what you have in this young man and see if he's able to, especially – the NFC East, how terrible that division is, but it's getting better. But you want to be able to have a chance, and I think Jalen Hurts gives you that chance. Carson Wentz, though, I mean, he's been stressing a lot, and this goes back into the Super Bowl year and getting injured, and then Nick Foles taking over and then winning not only a Super Bowl but also the MVP. There's been a lot on his shoulders to try to figure out if he could be that guy in Philly, and they haven't figured it out. And I think for him, it's going to be tough. I mean, because if Jalen Hurts balls out the way that I think he's going to for the rest of the season, I think you have to start looking at next year as something different, even though he's owed a lot of money and they gave him a lot of money. I get that. But you also got to look at the longevity of your organization. And we know that when it comes down to making plays and getting things done in the NFL, you got to have a quarterback to be able to do it. And I think that Jalen Hurts is going to show that he is the guy for the job. Carson Wentz maybe could have played his last down in Philadelphia.
Buffalo did a number on Pittsburgh. We'll talk Bills first. With what you're seeing from Josh Allen, is this a team you can envision playing in the Super Bowl this year?
Yeah, why not? Why not the Bills, man? They got everything that you need. And you know what, Jack, the one thing that stuck out to me the most was before the game when they were walking out and Josh Allen was talking to his guys saying, let them dance out there, let them have fun, let them, be, dancing around all the music. We're here to play football. We came to work. And to see the evolution of Josh Allen, I mean, just to be able to make all the throws to understand the game like he's understanding right now and to have those weapons, they right now are a team, especially in the AFC, that I think when you look at the Chiefs, everybody looks at the Chiefs, but they're right there. And so to see what they've been able to do and how they've been able to turn it around, I mean, Allen is one of those guys that you love to be able to see and how he's going to keep getting better and better. But he has all the tools that you want in a franchise quarterback, and it's just amazing to see how this team is clicking on all cylinders.
Pittsburgh has suffered some bad injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Dupree, Bush, his replacement Spillane. Now, is this team in trouble, or is this just a little valley during the course of a grueling 16-game schedule?
Listen, there's a reason why Tomlin had these guys in pads before that Bills game, because he's not seeing the toughness and what we're accustomed to seeing in a Steelers squad. And so I think they're having some issues. I mean, we can see it clearly, and going up against a pretty good Bills team, but still, they're not able to run the football. And if you can't run the football, especially at this time of the year, you really don't have a chance. And, you know, you're talking about other teams in that division, and just in the AFC, you got to be able to outscore the Chiefs, and you got to be able to run the ball, control the game on the ground and the clock. And if they can't do that, to me, that's a recipe for disaster. So I really think that it's not just a bump in the road for them. This is a difficult time and a bad time for the Steelers to start having these hiccups as the season comes down to an end.
So, Jared, I know you've been battling COVID, and it's not fun. First off, how are you? And the second thing is, what kind of an appreciation do you have for the players that have had to go through this and then get back on the field?
Man, Jack, you know, I'm super, super blessed, man. It's been awesome just to have all the love and all the texts and the emails that people from all over the world have been sending me. But, you know, before of getting COVID last week, I had no clue. I mean, everybody always says you just never know how it's going to affect your body. And for me, you know, just being in shape like I am and being a former athlete, to me, man, my body has really been you know, fighting this virus, and it's been tough, and there's been a lot of ups and downs, and it's been very, very hard. So I can only imagine what these players are going through on a week-to-week basis of trying to stay, you know, negative, and then also too, if they do get positive, trying to be able to come back and bounce back, and you know, listen to guys like Larry Fitzgerald of, you know, how tough it was, you know, losing your taste and your smell. And then also trying to come back, and, you know, we know this is a respiratory virus. And so for, you know, seeing these guys being able to come back and keep playing, man, it's a testament to how strong they are. And just to let everybody know that this virus is serious. And so we got to stay safe. We got to protect not just ourselves, but the people around us. And if we can do that, hopefully we can all start making you know, a better new year come in 2021.
The marquee matchup in the NFL this week, the Kansas City Chiefs make the trip to New Orleans to take on the Saints. And right now we're going to take you to Kansas City, where Rob Collins joins us. Rob, did my eyes deceive me, or did Patrick Mahomes look human on Sunday?
My eyes, too, saw the same thing, but just for a minute. Patrick Mahomes was indeed Clark Kent, and then the glasses came off and Superman showed up, and the Chiefs flew past the fin, scoring 21 straight points from the offense. Now, Mahomes joked afterwards he has a love-hate relationship with Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, and you can see why. He has 5 picks in 2 games in 2020 at the stadium. He has 2 picks everywhere else. That's just nuts. And 2 of those picks in that game were tipped. One, not so good of a pass. The other one was just a fantastic effort from Xavier Howard. Yes, mortal for a few minutes. So I guess teal is Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite.
Yeah, he still won the game, though, and that's really all that matters. Chiefs clinched their 5th consecutive AFC West Division title. Will they continue full steam ahead and try and secure that top seed and a bye, or does Andy Reid maybe consider taking the foot off the pedal and stay healthy?
Yeah, given that there's only that one bye this year, I think Coach Reid will attack opposing defenses in the final 3 games like he would a double cheeseburger after a long day at the office. Now, that might change, though, if Pittsburgh loses another game, which they might, and then the Chiefs might even have a bigger cushion. But I think Reid's learned from past failures of letting up. Plus, we've seen players get hurt numerous times and they're not going full speed. So I believe the Chiefs will keep lighting up the scoreboard without going too deep in the playbook. We know Big Red likes to keep a little something-something for the playoffs.
We are all mesmerized by what Patrick Mahomes does each week with this offense, but it seems like every time I turn on a Chiefs game, Daniel Sorensen is making plays on defense. Who is he? What makes him so special?
Dirty Dan is the man. That's what he's known here in Chiefs Kingdom. Dirty Dan. He just keeps making those down and dirty plays. Dude was an unsigned free agent, man. He came in and really came on the scene last year with that pick of Phillip Rivers in the Mexico game. Remember that? And then when he blew up the fake punt, again, the game against Houston, that's when he really blew up outside of Chiefs Kingdom. He has 3 picks this year, and he's one of those guys who just has a knack for making the big play. Certainly underrated across the league, but definitely not underrated and certainly appreciated here in the Kingdom.
Yeah, it's a big one on Sunday afternoon, New Orleans. Jalen Hurts rushed all over them for over 100 yards last week. They rushed for 250 as a team against that Saints defense. Does Kansas City steal a page from that book and run Mahomes?
I don't think so on purpose. Now, Mahomes may break a few long runs because of coverage, but I don't see Coach Reid making that the focal point of the offense. I mean, you're not going to put a Ferrari on a dirt road with bumps on it, right? You put that sucker in the Autobahn and let him roll, man. The Chiefs have only shied away from running Patrick Mahomes. Have you seen him run the sneak since that injury in Denver? No, neither have I. I don't think it's going to happen. So putting the $500 million man out there in open field, not the best idea for the Chiefs. That'd be kind of like you and me putting a plate of beignets in front of a group of hungry teenagers and making them wait. Yeah, that's not happening.
Rob, are we watching a preview of the Super Bowl? What do the Chiefs have to do to win this game?
Well, I think they have to make Taysom Hill one-dimensional. The Chiefs can certainly do that, and they got to make him beat him with his arm, not his leg, especially in the red zone. You know, Hill has only 4 starts at quarterback, and I think he's expected to play trending that way. So I expect defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo to blitz and disguise blitz packages to confuse the New Orleans neophyte. He's shown a propensity to throw picks and fumble the ball. He's fumbled it 10 times so far. He's lost 5 of those. So that's something the Chiefs defense will definitely look to take advantage of. Now, as far as the Saints defense, they're going to have to choose. Who do you stop, Tyreek Hill deep or Travis Kelce over the middle? It's kind of like my wife asking me if I want her to use the debit card or the credit card while Christmas shopping. Pay now or pay later? You're going to pay regardless. Now, the Chiefs are going to score on that defense, so there'll be plenty of green for the Chiefs to take part in that game. And speaking of green, you asked me about the Super Bowl. My choice is the green and gold. The Packers, I think they're the ones who are going to be in the Super Bowl. Hey, it could be a State Farm showdown, man. Winner gets a Lombardi trophy and free car insurance.
Well, you're a lucky man, Rob. My wife doesn't ask which card to use. 'Tis the season. Will there be a lot of coaching vacancies in the NFL? We know that. Where do you see Eric Bieniemy next year? And are there other Chiefs coaches that could branch out the Andy Reid coaching tree?
Yeah, I think Houston is probably the most likely landing spot for Bieniemy. The biggest selling point there, of course, Deshaun Watson. He has a similar skill set as Patrick Mahomes, and he has some weapons. Plus, that division fairly inconsistent, as we've seen over the past couple of years. And, hey, man, no state tax in Texas is pretty handy when you're talking about millions of dollars. Atlanta could also be another place where EB could succeed. Falcons have plenty of offensive weapons. They draft a young quarterback, and that quarterback gets some tutelage under Matt Ryan. There's some potential there. But for Bieniemy's sake, I hope he doesn't get saddled with the Jets. I know they're probably going to get Trevor Lawrence, but, man, that franchise is like a ball of Christmas lights tangled up back in the corner over there. A few bright spots, but otherwise a big old tangled mess. Now, if Bieniemy leaves, passing coordinator Mike Kafka will more than likely be the OC. Other coaches may leave for coordinator spots, maybe even with Bieniemy, but you know, leaving Patrick Mahomes is a tough ask for anyone on the coaching staff. He may stick around a couple more years, get some more rings, and get a better job. But Bieniemy will certainly be a hot ticket.
For the Saints' take on this matchup, we welcome Ed Daniels from New Orleans. Ed, the Saints lost for the first time without Drew Brees, so now Green Bay takes over the top spot in the NFC. Is there a little more urgency to get Brees back at quarterback?
Well, I think there is, Jack, but I don't know if the Saints are going to play him on Sunday or not. I would think that they would try to get Drew Brees back on the field, but apparently from the reports that we're hearing is that they want to do everything they can to make sure that he's completely healed before they put him back on the field. But look, when you look at what the Chiefs did on Sunday, I think it's pretty obvious that it's going to take 27 to 30 points to win this game. And I don't know if the Saints can win a scoring contest with Kansas City if Taysom Hill's at quarterback and not Drew Brees. So I think there's urgency to get Drew Brees back on the field, but I'm not sure the Saints do. Now, one thing you got to remember is that was before this game on Sunday. The Saints laid a giant egg at Philadelphia. Maybe that changes their thinking a little bit. If not, if they don't win this game, then in all likelihood the Saints are the 2 seed going into the playoffs, and you know they've got to go through Green Bay. They've got to play the extra game. I just think that being that number 1 seed makes such a difference for them. I would hope that they would reassess the availability of Drew Brees on Sunday, because I definitely think they need him.
Now that you've seen a little more than a sample size of Taysom Hill at quarterback, is he the heir to Drew Brees, or do they risk losing him if they don't commit to him at that position?
Well, they've committed a 2-year contract to Taysom Hill, and the contract was backloaded. So he's going to be paid a big number next year. So I think the Saints are going to go with Taysom Hill at quarterback next year. Now, did they go out and draft someone? I don't know. That's a very good question as we get into the offseason. But I think the results on Taysom Hill have been pretty good, but I don't think they've been great. The one thing that they've had some problems with is fumbling. He's fumbled the ball 4 times this year. So, you know, I don't really know. To me, the gist of being a very good quarterback to a great quarterback in the NFL is decision-making and accuracy. And I don't know if we've seen enough of Taysom Hill to be able to make that kind of determination. But I know this, Sean Payton totally believes in Taysom Hill. And they've committed to him as the quarterback for next year if Drew Brees retires. So I don't know if we've seen enough of him, but I think the Saints think that they've seen enough of him.
All right, up until last week, the Saints had been one of the best teams in the NFL against the run, under 90 yards a game, but Philly rushed for 250 on Sunday. What happened?
Well, I think one of the things that happened is on the 82-yard run by Miles Sanders, you know, Quan Alexander took the wrong angle. He went into the wrong hole, and that left it wide open, and Miles Sanders busted that 82-yard run. But you know what? You take that away, you're still allowing 170 yards on the ground. You know, the Saints, I don't think they were ready for that running quarterback. I think that running quarterback made a huge difference in the game, and Jalen Hurts certainly did that. But here's the thing to me. The Saints showed up, and they played like a team that was void of emotion. And when that happens, you can get gashed in the running game, and that's what happened to this team on Sunday. I don't know. It was a very, very uncharacteristic performance. Maybe we should have looked at a little more closely at the fact that it might have been a trap game after Atlanta on the road, before Kansas City at home. But this was a 3-8-1 team that they were playing, starting a rookie quarterback. The Eagles had not won a game since November 1st. And for the Saints to lose that game and to get run on like they did was, to me, an indication of a team that was just totally void of emotion on Sunday.
Yeah, it's just a bad loss. If I would have told you, Ed, before the season began, that 13 games into the year, 14 weeks in, Michael Thomas hadn't scored a touchdown, what would you have guessed the state of this team would be?
Well, I certainly wouldn't think they'd be 10-3, Jack. I think they'd be like 7-6 or 6-7. I certainly never thought that would ever happen. I mean, it's one of those things that you really look at the number and you say, that can't be true, but here it is true. The one thing I'll say about Michael Thomas is Taysom Hill looks for him a lot. And he has 30 catches over the last 4 games. In one game, he was targeted 11 times. In the other game, he was targeted 12 times. So they're getting the ball to Michael Thomas. He just hasn't found the end zone yet. And that, to me, is one of those weird stats that is never really, truly explainable.
All right, and last thing here, Ed, I'm confident there will not be a lack of emotion for the Saints this week. What has to happen for the Saints to beat the Chiefs?
I think the magic number is 30. If you want to be able to beat the Chiefs, you're going to have to score in the 30s to win. To me, that's what has to happen. And look, if Taysom Hill's the quarterback, it's going to have to take a really, really plus performance on offense, because You know, I think Miami found that out yesterday. They scored 27 points at home. They made a really nice comeback against Kansas City, but they were still in the loss column. The Chiefs have so many weapons on offense. You just cannot keep them down the entire game, and their quarterback is superb. So again, if you want to beat them, then what you have to do is, to me, you have to score in the 30s to have a chance to make that happen. And one of the things that is a negative is that there'll only be 3,000 people at the game on Sunday. And I think Saints-Chiefs is one of those games on the road where crowd noise could play such a huge part for Kansas City being on the road at New Orleans and the Saints being at home. The Saints are not going to have that advantage on Sunday, and I think that's a big slice of this game that the Saints are going to have taken away from them.
Another big game in Week 15. The Seahawks travel to D.C. to take on the Washington football team. Washington in first place in the NFC East and on track to make the playoffs. Bruce Rader joins us from Portsmouth, Virginia. Bruce, the last time we talked, the NFC East was a laughingstock, but nobody's laughing anymore, are they?
Well, you know what, Jack? Maybe you were the one that actually put them over the hump when you said that. And I'm not so sure that this is going to be the marquee matchup of the week if Seattle has its way. But, you know, in the NFC East, it was hard to go anywhere but up. You know, the Giants, of course, the past couple of weeks seemed to be on a roll before they lost this past Sunday. The Eagles were left for dead until Jalen Hurts had his big game. I think the Cowboys are finished. So Washington now seems to be the strong contender to win the NFC East and go to the playoffs. You know, their remaining schedule, Jack, even with the Seahawks coming up on Sunday, and then Carolina and then the Eagles, it's one of the easiest schedules by opponent winning percentage in the NFL right now. And their main competition is going to be the Giants. The Giants, a team that beat them twice, and the Giants have the 10th most difficult schedule right now. I mean, I got to tell you, I'm not so sure that Washington is going to be able to pull that Steelers magic and beat Russell in that very tough Seattle team. But as we've seen the past couple of weeks, anything can happen. But I can tell you this, the Seahawks are not as weak as the 49ers. And Washington just barely won that game and only won it because of their outstanding defense.
All right, Alex Smith left that game with a leg injury. What's the latest on his condition? And Bruce, can this team win the East without him?
Well, that's a very interesting question, Jack. I don't think they want to find out. Now, Alex did leave the game just prior to halftime. He had a calf injury, so it didn't seem to be that serious. Now, one thing I know about Coach Ron Rivera, he does not like to tip his hand at all. And Smith actually started his medical workups on Monday. I'm not so sure the Rivera is even going to let anybody know if Alex is going to be able to play until Saturday. I think that's when the league is pretty much going to push him to do that. As for Dwayne Haskins, well, Rivera, as you would expect, says he has complete confidence in his second-year quarterback, but certainly he hasn't had a whole lot of confidence this season, and Dwayne did not look great when he came in against the 49ers last week, and like I said, Dwayne Haskins didn't win that football game. The defense did. Would Haskins be just good enough with that Washington defense that he might be able to pull him through the next 3 games if he had to? Again, I don't think Rivera wants to find out, but really right now, Jack, the most important injury they have is to their outstanding rookie running back, Antonio Gibson, who has that turf toe injury. And a lot of people say, gee, it's just a toe, man up, go out there. But really, toe injuries, as you well know, they're some of the most severe injuries in the NFL.
Yeah, especially for running backs. You know, Bruce, Washington has not been a regular on national TV for a while. For fans around the country who haven't seen this defense play, and they did score 2 touchdowns last week, you already mentioned that. How good is this defense? What makes them so good?
Oh, they're outstanding. Well, they're outstanding, Jack. And, of course, you've got Chase Young. And he was the #2 pick in the NFL draft behind Joe Burrow. And, you know, people had said all the way going into the draft that Chase Young may be the best defensive player, period, to come out of college football in perhaps the last decade. I thought that was a bit of a stretch. But when you watch what he has just been able to do his rookie year, just look what he did last week against the 49ers, Jack. He was the first rookie in NFL history to bat 2 passes down in one game. And then not only did he force a fumble, but then just a few minutes later, he scooped up a fumble, and he didn't just fall on it. He ran it all the way in for a touchdown that was probably the game-winning touchdown at that point. So that defense is very good. Now the question is, can Ron Rivera keep that team going for 3 more games?
The Seahawks bounced back from that head-scratching loss to the Giants. They throttled the hapless Jets. A.J. McCord is our Seahawks correspondent. A.J., not a lot of mercy shown to those Jets. Did this team need a win like that?
They certainly did. When you look at the game before against the Giants, Shaquille Griffin put it very bluntly a few days later. He said that team was not supposed to beat us. The Jets, another team that were not supposed to beat the Seahawks. And so they wanted to make sure that they never gave the Jets a single second where they believed that they were in that game, because as we all know in the NFL, any given Sunday, anything could happen. And the Seahawks couldn't afford to let anything happen that wasn't supposed to happen on Sunday.
Yeah, the Seahawks defense was catching some flack in the first half of the season, but they've gone 5 straight games now where they held their opponent to 21 points or less. Why are they so much better now?
It all started with the defensive coordinator, Ken Norton Jr., calling accountability meetings. They now happen every Saturday night. They began right before the Arizona game, the second time the Seahawks played the Cardinals. And since then, the Seahawks have been 3-1. And KJ Wright told me after the win over the Jets that those meetings are actually incredibly crucial, because in those accountability meetings, what happens is each of the players go through their assignments. They say them out loud. If they're in this coverage, then I do this. If they're reading this, then I'm doing this. And so KJ Wright says it's really helped build trust among this team, because they know exactly that the player next to them knows what to do when they go out onto the field. And in turn, these players continue to buy into these accountability meetings, because as we all know, it can be hard to be accountable, but it's working. And so as they see it work each and every Sunday, this defense continues to buy into these meetings, and it's really helped them turn this thing around.
Chris Carson had some trouble staying on the field midway through the season. Now he's looking stronger and stronger, but he's splitting reps with Carlos Hyde. Are they trying to keep Carson fresh and healthy, or do they want both these backs?
I think they like both of them for different reasons, but of course with Chris Carson, you do have to keep in mind his injury. He just missed a month not that long ago with a midfoot sprain. He's had an injury history. And so for Pete Carroll and the Seattle offense, they want him in the playoffs, and they want him at full health. So the last few games, there has been an element of easing him back in to a full workload. And Carlos Hyde is also such a great back that you might as well use him where you can. And so it's an element, a mix, I would say, of wanting to ease Chris Carson back into things because they want him to peak late in the season and need him fully healthy for the playoffs.
The way Washington is playing right now, it's really hard to call this a trap game, but the Rams are next, and they already beat the Seahawks this season. Is there a danger of looking ahead?
If there was that danger before, the New York Giants should have taught them that you cannot do that. So I know when I was talking to Shaq after that loss, he said we did look past them a little bit. And if you look at this recent stretch for the Seahawks, a lot of people are saying they should go 4-0 in this stretch. And they certainly have not. And so if they didn't learn their lesson against the Giants, then this team has a whole slew of other problems that they don't want to believe that they have. So I do not think they're going to fall into the trap against the Washington football team, because similarly to the Giants, that's a team that you really don't know how good they are, and they can't take a risk that they are as bad as their record may suggest.
Our big guest this week is a man whose star is shot to another stratosphere in 2020. First, his work with MSNBC in the election, and now on Football Night in America. Steve Kornacki joins us from New York. Steve, who wears, first got to start with this question, who wears the khakis better, you or Jim Harbaugh?
Well, I got to say, I've been doing it my whole life. I don't know how long he is, but this has been my, it's been the pants I've been wearing pretty much since high school. I just never bothered to change my style, I guess.
Well, he's been rocking them most of his coaching career, although he's switched to Lululemons recently, so now he's a little more stylish. What are you more passionate about, politics or sports?
Well, I got to tell you, that's a close call, to be honest. I mean, do the elections. I love elections. I love election night. I love getting to look at all the different races come into shape around the country. But I got to say, I got a call about a week after the election from my bosses here at NBC asking if I was interested in doing the NFL playoffs for Football Night in America. I said, that feels pretty much like a dream come true to me. So I can't tell you how excited I've been to get to do it.
How were you able to marry these two together?
You know, honestly, it's a lot smoother than maybe I thought it would be and maybe you'd expect it to be. But, you know, I've been using this board, you know, before election night, in the run-up to the election, all I was doing was the road to 270. You know, if Biden wins Michigan, but if Trump gets North Carolina, you know, how does that affect each candidate's path? I mean, I spent, you know, months really doing that, and then even as the election played out, you know, the same thing. As the one state went red, one state went blue. Okay, what does that mean? Who needs what now? It's very similar with the playoff picture. You know, if Baltimore knocks off Cleveland, what does that do to Miami's chances? What does Miami need to do against New England next week? There's more of an overlap there, I think, than I thought it would. It feels pretty natural to me.
All right, so we're a football show, not a political show, so let's have you switch that to the AFC, and let's have you do your thing now. AFC first, Chiefs, Steelers, already clinched playoff berths. Who do you think is going to the Super Bowl from the AFC?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very original here and tell you I think it might be Kansas City. I mean, you look at Kansas City overtaking Pittsburgh for that top seed, and the road to holding on to that #1 seed for Kansas City. Yes, they've got New Orleans this week, but the model we use suggests Kansas City now overwhelmingly likely to get that top seed over Pittsburgh. And then you go to the bottom half of the standings here where I think it gets really interesting. The thing that's been jumping out at me is Miami right now technically in that 7th spot. Baltimore right now technically out, but look at the probabilities. Baltimore 81% shot to make the playoffs, Miami only 33%. What is that? That is all about the schedule. You know, Baltimore closes with the easiest schedule in the league. Miami still has some tough games to get through. So Baltimore, despite not being in right now, the probability says they will be, or they're likely to be.
All right, NFC, Saints and Packers are in. We could see as many as 3 teams from the NFC West into the playoffs. Who do the numbers favor in the NFC? The NFC.
Yeah, here you go. Well, you got Green Bay, New Orleans at the top right now. We give, by the way, both of them locked to make the playoffs. We give Green Bay close to a 60% chance, though, of hanging on to that top seed and getting that all-important bye. New Orleans, that was a tough hit they took last week against Philadelphia. But again, gets very interesting down here. Arizona and Minnesota going for that last spot. Arizona with the win last week against the Giants. Minnesota losing to Tampa Bay. They flipped positions, and now it's a 61% shot for the Cardinals to go forward and make the playoffs. What I think is interesting here is Minnesota and Chicago, the 2 teams in 8th and 9th right now, they're playing this week. So the winner of that game, Minnesota and Chicago, is going to have the last best chance of jumping Arizona and getting that spot. The loser of that Minnesota-Chicago game, good night for them.
Kenny White is the Wizard of Odds. He's an odds maker, sports market analyst. You can see him on CBS Sportsline. He's also the author and publisher of Kenny White's College Football Power Ratings. You can get that in a PDF or 3-hole binder. He also predicts the final score for every college football game, basically tells you what the odds and the total should be for every game. And he joins us every week from Las Vegas. Kenny, can you describe the feeling a bettor or bookmaker gets in his stomach when a team like the Browns on Monday start throwing the ball all over the field, trying to score that miracle touchdown, because the safety proved pretty costly to somebody, didn't it?
It sure did. It costly to the sports books, Jack, and I guess that feeling in your stomach, if you're a sports book, you're thinking, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But if you're a sports bettor, you're thinking, could it go the other way? Could there possibly be an open lane for the Browns to run through and score a 90-yard touchdown? But you know what? It just went backwards, and it's the only way it usually does go. But boy, what a turn of events. It was still going to be probably a small loss because of the Raven money line to over bets already, but the predominant parlay last night, Ravens -3 to the over, cha-ching, cash for the bettors.
Yeah, and all in all, the first good week for the bettors, right? Books finally took a hit.
Yeah, finally. It's been a record year for the sports books, with underdogs cashing at 57%. The books have been having a great year. The volume's been up, and sports bettors have taken it in the shorts a little bit so far this year. But that was finally a good weekend for the bettors, the small loss for the sports books.
All right, well, good for the bettors. That was a wildly entertaining game, perhaps a moral victory for Cleveland. After what the Ravens did to them in the season opener, has any team made a bigger jump in your power ratings from week 1 through now than the Browns?
Yeah, I was very impressed with Cleveland and feel good about their power rating, that I do have them 2 points above an average NFL team, that I'm going to jump them up again. I pushed them up another point, being 3 points above average. The Dolphins and the Buccaneers have both been the biggest gainers in my power ratings from the beginning to the season till now. But Cleveland right now in the top 5. I did have them rated fairly high, and that's why they haven't had a big jump. I thought they were about an average NFL team, so they've had about a 3.5 point upgrade from the beginning of the year till right now.
Kenny, only 3 weeks left in the regular season. We haven't visited this topic in a month or so. Has the MVP race been decided? Do we crown Patrick Mahomes now, or can Aaron Rodgers or somebody else win this thing?
Oh, my goodness. We're coming down the home stretch, and here we go. A quarter of a furlong left, and they're almost neck and neck, except for Mahomes does have a lead right now. He is a $240 favorite to win the award. Rodgers plus 190, but he's closing fast because he was plus 550 last week. So a big move on Rodgers. This one, I think, goes down to the wire with 3 games left. This is going to be very, very close. I think Rodgers has a chance to pull it out. I sure much would have rather had plus 550 last week than plus $1.90 this week. But I think another reason why the jump, Ben Roethlisberger was in that race at 15-1 because the Steelers were undefeated. But as soon as they lost to the Washington Redskins, his odds are now at 50-1.
We appear to be out of time. A big thanks to our guests, Jarrett Payton, Rob Collins, Ed Daniels, Bruce Rader, A.J. McCord, Steve Kornacki, and Kenny White. Week 15 kicks off tonight with the Chargers and the Raiders. For Spencer Wheelock and our crew here in Grand Rapids, I'm Jack Doles. Thanks for joining us on Big Game Bound.